I was born into a family that had already faced more than its fair share of challenges by the time I came along. My father, Mark, and my older brother, Ethan, both suffered from a rare genetic disorder that left them disabled and dependent on wheelchairs for mobility. As a young child, I didn't fully grasp the magnitude of the situation, but I could see the strain it placed on my mother, Sarah. Despite the constant struggles, my parents worked tirelessly to create a loving and supportive home for us. Dad, even with his limited mobility, always found ways to make us laugh and feel cherished. One particular summer afternoon when I was about 6 years old stands out in my memory. Dad had persuaded Mom to let us have a picnic in the backyard. He'd spent the morning directing me and Ethan as we spread out the checkered blanket and arranged the sandwiches and snacks Mom had prepared. As we settled onto the blanket, Dad began regaling us with stories from his childhood. He had a knack for turning even the most ordinary tales into epic adventures. I sat there, captivated by his every word, my eyes wide with wonder. At that moment, I realized that my dad was a true hero, not because of any physical feats, but because he faced each day with a smile and refused to let his disability define him. Mom, meanwhile, was the glue that held our family together. She juggled caring for Dad and Ethan, working part-time to support us financially and ensuring that I had as normal a childhood as possible. I knew it wasn't easy for her, but she never let her struggles show. One memory that stands out vividly is from when I was about 8 years old. I had come home from school, bursting with excitement to show Mom the A+ I'd earned on my math test. As I rushed through the front door, I found her sitting at the kitchen table, head in her hands, quietly sobbing. It was the first time I'd seen her break down, and it shook me to my core. I cautiously approached her and wrapped my arms around her, offering what comfort I could. "I'm sorry, Liam," she said, brushing away her tears. "It's just been a tough day." At that moment, I made a solemn vow to myself that I would do everything in my power to help my family and make Mom's life easier. As I grew older, my determination only intensified. I started taking on more responsibilities around the house, helping Mom with chores and looking after Dad and Ethan whenever she needed a break. I also began to think about ways I could contribute financially to our family. When I was 14, I started mowing lawns and doing odd jobs around the neighborhood to earn some extra money. It wasn't much, but I diligently saved every penny I could. At school, I poured myself into my studies, resolved to get good grades and create opportunities for my future. One day, while I was out mowing lawns, I struck up a conversation with one of my clients, Mr. Johnson. He was an older gentleman who had recently retired from a successful career in the tech industry. As we chatted, I shared with him my family's story and my desire to help them. Mr. Johnson was impressed by my determination and offered to teach me about financial planning and investing. Over the next few months, I spent countless hours at Mr. Johnson's house, soaking up his knowledge like a sponge. He taught me about budgeting, saving, and the power of compound interest. He even helped me set up my first investment account. Armed with this new knowledge, I became even more focused on my goals. I started looking for ways to earn more money and began experimenting with small business ideas. I set up a lemonade stand on our street corner and started selling homemade cookies at school events. As I saved more money, I began to dream about the day when I could buy my parents their dream house. I pictured a cozy cottage by the sea, with wide windows that let in plenty of sunlight, and a spacious living room where Dad and Ethan could move around easily in their wheelchairs. I knew that the road ahead would be long and challenging, but I was prepared to face whatever obstacles came my way. My family had always been there for me, supporting me and loving me unconditionally. Now, it was my turn to be there for them, no matter how long it took or how hard I had to work. And so, with a heart full of love and a mind focused on my goals, I embarked on a journey to turn my family's dreams into reality. As I entered high school, my determination to help my family only grew stronger. I knew that to make a real difference, I needed to think bigger. That's when I had the idea to start my own small business. I had always been fascinated by technology and spent countless hours tinkering with computers and phones. With Mr. Johnson's encouragement, I decided to start a smartphone repair service. I used my savings to buy tools and parts and began advertising my services on social media and local bulletin boards. At first, business was slow. I would spend hours waiting for customers, wondering if I had made a mistake. But I refused to give up. I started offering discounts and promotions, and slowly but surely, word began to spread. One day, a customer brought in a particularly challenging repair. It was a brand new phone with a shattered screen and water damage. I spent hours carefully taking the phone apart, cleaning each component, and reassembling it. When I finally turned it on and the screen lit up, I felt a rush of pride and accomplishment. That repair turned out to be a turning point for my business. The customer was so impressed that he referred several of his friends to me, and soon I had a steady stream of clients. As my business grew, so did my confidence. I started taking on more complex repairs and even began offering custom phone modifications. I was working harder than ever, balancing school, my business, and my responsibilities at home. But I knew it was all worth it. However, my newfound success didn't come without its challenges. One day, while I was working on a repair, I accidentally damaged a customer's phone beyond repair. I was devastated and worried about how I would break the news to the customer. When the customer arrived to pick up his phone, I took a deep breath and explained what had happened. To my surprise, he was understanding and even offered to help me find a replacement part. That experience taught me the importance of honesty and transparency in business, and I made a promise to always be upfront with my customers, no matter what. As my business continued to thrive, I started thinking about ways to give back to my community. I remembered how much Mr. Johnson's mentorship had meant to me, and I decided to start a program to teach other young people about entrepreneurship and financial literacy. I reached out to local schools and community centers, offering to teach workshops and mentor students. At first, I was nervous about speaking in front of groups, but as I saw the impact I was having on the lives of these young people, my confidence grew. One of my proudest moments was when a student I had been mentoring came to me with a business idea of her own. Together, we worked on developing a plan and launching her business. Seeing the pride and excitement on her face as she made her first sale was a feeling I will never forget. As I juggled my business, my community work, and my responsibilities at home, I knew I was stretched thin. But I also knew that every long night and early morning was bringing me one step closer to my ultimate goal of buying my parents their dream house. One day I came across a story online about a young entrepreneur who had developed a successful mobile app. The article mentioned that he was looking for beta testers for his latest project. On a whim, I reached out to him, offering my skills as a tester and developer. To my surprise, he responded almost immediately, and we struck up a friendship. He was impressed by my knowledge and work ethic, and offered me a part-time job working on his app. I knew that this was the opportunity I had been waiting for. With a steady income from my repair business and my new job, I was finally able to start saving significant amounts of money. But just as things were looking up, tragedy struck. My father's condition took a turn for the worse, and he was hospitalized for several weeks. I spent every spare moment by his side, holding his hand and reassuring him that everything would be okay. It was during those long hours in the hospital that I made a decision. I knew that life was too short to wait for the perfect moment to chase your dreams. I decided that as soon as my father was stable, I would redouble my efforts to save for my parents' house. And that's exactly what I did. I worked harder than ever, taking on extra shifts and projects whenever I could. I cut back on expenses and put every spare penny into my savings account. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I wanted to give up. But every time I felt discouraged, I would think about my parents and the sacrifices they had made for me. I would picture the look on their faces when I handed them the keys to their dream home, and it would give me the strength to keep going. As the months turned into years, my savings grew, and my dream started to feel more and more within reach. And through it all, I knew that I was becoming the person I had always wanted to be, someone who could make a real difference in the lives of the people I loved most. As I entered my early 20s, my app development skills had improved significantly, and I was now working full-time alongside my friend on his latest project. The app we were creating was a budgeting tool designed to help people manage their finances and save for their goals. It felt like a perfect fit, given my own experiences and passion for financial literacy. We poured our hearts and souls into the app, working long hours and pushing ourselves to the limit. There were times when we faced seemingly insurmountable obstacles, like when a major investor pulled out at the last minute, leaving us scrambling for funding. But we refused to give up. and through a combination of determination and creative problem solving, we always found a way to keep moving forward. One of the biggest challenges I faced during this time was balancing my work on the app with my responsibilities at home. My father's health had stabilized, but he still required a great deal of care, and my mother was struggling to keep up with the demands of looking after him and my brother. I did my best to help out whenever I could, taking on extra chores and staying up late to help my brother with his homework. There were times when I felt like I was being pulled in a million different directions, but I knew that my family needed me, and I was determined to be there for them. Despite the challenges, I never lost sight of my ultimate goal of buying my parents their dream house. Every spare moment I had, I would research properties and crunch numbers, trying to figure out how much I would need to save. As the app neared completion, my friend and I started to get a lot of buzz in the tech community. Investors were taking notice, and we even had a few big-name companies approach us about potential partnerships. I knew that this was our chance to make a real impact, not just for ourselves, but for all the people who could benefit from our app. We worked around the clock to get everything ready for launch, and when the big day finally arrived, we were thrilled to see the positive response from users. The app quickly gained traction, and before we knew it, we were being featured in major news outlets and invited to speak at conferences around the world. It was a whirlwind of excitement and opportunity, but through it all, I never forgot my roots. I made a point of using my newfound platform to advocate for financial literacy and entrepreneurship, especially in underserved communities. I partnered with local organizations to offer workshops and mentorship programs, and I even started a scholarship fund to help young people pursue their dreams. As the app continued to grow, so did my financial prospects. I was finally earning a significant income, and I knew that my dream of buying my parents' house was within reach. But just as I was starting to feel like everything was falling into place, I was hit with a devastating blow. My mother, who had been the rock of our family for so long, was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer. I was heartbroken and terrified, but I knew that I had to be strong for her and for my family. I took a leave of absence from work and spent every waking moment by her side, holding her hand through endless doctor's appointments and chemotherapy sessions. It was during this time that I truly realized the importance of family and the power of love. My mother fought bravely, and even on her worst days, she never lost her smile or her positive outlook. She was an inspiration to us all, and I knew that I had to do everything in my power to make her proud. As my mother's health declined, I threw myself into my work with renewed vigor. I knew that time was running out, and I was determined to make her dream of owning a home a reality before it was too late. I worked tirelessly, pouring every ounce of my energy into the app and my savings goal. There were times when I felt like I was running on fumes, but I refused to give up. Finally, after years of hard work and sacrifice, I had saved enough money to put a down payment on a beautiful little cottage by the sea. It was everything my parents had ever dreamed of, with wide windows that let in plenty of sunlight and a spacious living room where my father and brother could move around easily in their wheelchairs. I remember the day I surprised them with the news, like it was yesterday. I walked into the hospital room where my mother was resting, holding a small gift box in my hands. When she opened it and saw the key inside, her eyes filled with tears of joy. "You did it, Liam," she whispered, her voice weak but filled with pride. "You made our dream come true." I hugged her tightly, my own tears flowing freely. I knew that this moment was the culmination of everything I had worked for, and I was overwhelmed with gratitude for the love and support of my family. We spent the next few weeks getting everything ready for the move, and when the day finally arrived, it felt like a dream come true. As I watched my father and brother explore their new home, their faces lit up with happiness. I knew that every sacrifice had been worth it. But even in the midst of our joy, we couldn't escape the harsh reality of my mother's illness. She was growing weaker by the day, and we knew that our time together was limited. In the end, she passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by the love of her family. It was a devastating loss, but I took comfort in knowing that she had lived to see her dream become a reality. As I stood at her graveside, holding my father's hand and feeling the warmth of the sun on my face, I made a silent promise to myself. I would continue to live my life with the same courage, determination, and love that she had shown me, and I would do everything in my power to make a positive difference in the world. I knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but I also knew that I had the strength and resilience to face whatever challenges came my way. And I knew that no matter what, I would always carry the love and legacy of my mother in my heart. In the months following my mother's passing, I threw myself into my work with a renewed sense of purpose. I knew that she would have wanted me to keep pushing forward, to keep making a difference in the world, and I was determined to honor her memory in everything I did. The app that my friend and I had created was now more successful than ever, and we were constantly working on new features and improvements to help our users achieve their financial goals. We even started exploring the idea of expanding into other areas, like investment advice and retirement planning. But even as my professional life was thriving, I knew that I couldn't neglect my responsibilities at home. My father and brother needed me now more than ever, and I was determined to be there for them in every way I could. I started by making some modifications to the cottage to make it more accessible for them. I installed ramps and widened doorways, and I even had a special bathroom fitted with a roll-in shower and grab bars. It was a lot of work, but seeing the look of joy and independence on their faces made it all worth it. I also made a point of spending as much quality time with them as I could. We would have long conversations over dinner, sharing stories and memories of my mother and all the happy times we had shared together. I even started teaching my brother some of the skills I had learned in my entrepreneurship classes, and he took to it like a natural. One of the biggest challenges I faced during this time was learning to balance my work and family life. There were times when I felt like I was being pulled in a million different directions, and I knew that I couldn't do it all on my own. That's when I had the idea to start a family foundation in my mother's memory. I wanted to create a way to give back to the community that had given us so much, and to honor the values of hard work, determination, and generosity that she had always embodied. I started by reaching out to some of my contacts in the tech industry and the local business community, and I was amazed by the outpouring of support I received. So many people had been touched by my mother's story and inspired by my own journey, and they were eager to help in any way they could. Together, we launched the Sarah Thompson Foundation, with a mission to provide support and resources for families facing medical and financial hardships. We offered grants for medical expenses, scholarships for young entrepreneurs, and even a mentorship program for kids who had lost a parent. It was a lot of work to get the foundation up and running, but I knew that it was exactly what my mother would have wanted. She had always been the first to lend a helping hand to anyone in need, and now her legacy could live on through the countless lives we were able to touch. As the years went by, I continued to pour my heart and soul into my work and my family. The app continued to thrive, and we even expanded into international markets, reaching millions of users around the world. But no matter how busy I got, I always made time for the things that mattered most. I would take my father and brother on trips to the beach, pushing their wheelchairs through the sand and watching the sunset together. I would visit schools and community centers, sharing my story and inspiring young people to chase their dreams. And every year on my mother's birthday, we would gather at the cottage for a special celebration in her honor. We would share our favorite memories of her and talk about all the ways she had touched our lives. It was a bittersweet day, filled with both laughter and tears, but it always reminded me of the incredible love and strength of our family. As I look back on my journey now, I'm filled with a sense of pride and gratitude. I know that I could never have achieved any of this without the love and support of my family, and I'm so thankful for every moment we have shared together. I also know that my mother's spirit lives on in everything I do. Her courage, her compassion, and her unwavering belief in the power of love continue to inspire me every day, and I know that she would be proud of the man I have become. Looking to the future, I know that there will be more challenges and obstacles to overcome, but I also know that I have the strength and resilience to face whatever comes my way. And I know that no matter what, I will always carry the love and legacy of my family in my heart. So to anyone out there who is facing their own struggles and challenges, I want to say this: never give up on your dreams. Believe in yourself, surround yourself with people who love and support you, and know that you have the power to make a difference in the world. Because if there's one thing I've learned on this incredible journey, it's that love truly can conquer all. And as long as we hold on to that love and let it guide us forward, there is nothing we can't achieve.